DRSN here. In today's video, I wanted to talk about the 2008-2009 Orlando Magic, led by Dwight Howard and coached by Stan Van Gundy. This team ruined the Kobe versus LeBron finals. I remember the puppet commercials featuring Kobe and LeBron, like in the late 2000s. That Lakers Cleveland was being hyped up as the finals, but this team was famous for ruining that, and then it's also famous for pioneering the modern floor spacing offense where you have like four shooters and a dominant interior presence surrounded, so it's like a drive-in kick to the three-point shooter game. So team was led by a 23-year-old Dwight Howard. So we talk about LeBron leading at a young age, leading his team. When you go to like a barbershop, you hear LeBron leading his team to the finals, a young LeBron. I think he was 22 years old then, and a Kevin Durant in 2012, who's also in his early 20s, but not many people I've seen talk about a 23-year-old Dwight Howard leading his team to the finals. I think he's Dwight Howard, the top 75 snub. I don't think Dame Miller deserves to be on it. He should be on it. Because this is the outline. I'll go over the roster, talk about the regular season, how the team did. Then we'll talk about the playoffs, and then we'll talk about future. The team made mistakes in the future there, and then eventually Dwight Howard requested a trade in the 2012, and then that was it. That was the end of the Dwight Howard Orlando Magic tenure. So let's start with team roster. So their point guard, we have Jameer Nelson. During the season, he was an all-star. He led the team in assists with 5.9. And he scored, I believe, around 16 points, which made him an all-star. We also had Courtney Lee. He was a rookie, I believe. He's a 3-and-D, traditional 3-and-D, good defender, three-point shooter. Hedo Turkoglu, we had the small forward, was a playmaker. He was a point forward, and he was a clutch shooter. So he's going to have his clutch in the playoffs. When we mention the playoffs, he'll have his clutch. I'll mention his clutch shots. And this is where it's the modern, where they became modern, where Rashad Lewis played the four. He's originally a small forward in the when he was on the Seattle Supersonics, but they slid him to the power forward because he could shoot the three. And this was the traditional four was wasn't a stretch four, but stayed near the rim in the baseline. So he was so they stretched the floor out, better spacing, more 3-point shooting. And then we had Dwight Howard, who was a great rim protector. He was athletic, a lob threat. He had his post game where he had a post game. He had he was strong because of his upper body strength, but his perimeter defense was also solid for the center position. It wasn't bad. So now let's talk about key reserves. Raf Alston was he was a solid player, scorer. He was average, solid. Mikael Pietrus is, and Raf Alston was also acquired mid-season, and he took because Jameer Nelson got injured during the regular season, so he took the starting role eventually. And then for Mikael Pietrus, he was more of a perimeter defender and a 3-point, so 3-and-D, like similar to Courtney Lee. Marcin Gortat was like a reliable backup to Dwight Howard. He was a good pick and roll center. And JJ Redick was just a sharpshooter. Believe he shot like 40-something% from three. So that's good. That better spacing, but his defense was bad, so that's why he was off the bench and he had limited minutes. Anthony Johnson was a veteran guard, known for probably scoring, taking floaters and layups. Let's talk about the regular season. They were the third seed. They won 59 games. The second and first seed, I believe, were the Cavs and the Celtics. Each won like 60-something games. But Orlando Magic had the number one defensive rating. That's due to Dwight Howard. I think he carried the defense. He anchored the defense. It's because of him, that defense. And they had the number 11 offense, so they had a top 15 offense and the best defense. So what made them modern? I mentioned the 3-point shooting. They shot 38%. 38.8%. So third best shooting team percentage wise. They attempted the second most threes because Rashad Lewis was slid to the four. So they took a lot of threes and they made a lot. So they made a third. They made a high percentage. So that's what made them win these games along with their defense. Dwight Howard was the won the defensive player of the year because he led the league in rebounds and blocks. So he deserved it, winning the DPOI. He was an all-star, top four. He got MVP votes, so he's top four. I think LeBron was number one. Kobe was number two. Maybe Dwayne Wade, but I'm unsure. But he was top four. Rashad Lewis was also an all-star. I believe he averaged around Jameer Nelson's averages, like 16. So this team had three all-stars. I don't hear like a lot of people saying that. Maybe one of them probably wouldn't have gotten the all-star if Chris Bosh wasn't injured, but still, this team had three all-stars. I think rightfully so. Let's talk about the playoffs. First round, they versus 76ers. I think led by Iguodala, Lou Williams, Thaddeus Young. Elwin Brand was on the team, but he was injured. He played 29 games in the regular season. I don't think he played the playoffs either. Yeah, he didn't play the playoffs either. Then Dwight Howard. This Dwight Howard-led team versus the Celtics. 62-win team with Paul Pierce, Rondo, Ray Allen. KG got injured, and that's like an asterisk on this finals run. People like to say, but Jameer Nelson was also injured, so I mean it balances out. The Magic also lost their All-Star, who came back during the finals only. And then the Eastern Conference Finals versus the Cavs. This is where they shocked the world. They beat a 66-win team led by LeBron, Mo Williams, Ilgauskas, Wally Sarbiak. And then the finals is where they got exposed. The team's flaws got exposed, which I'll talk about later. But they versed Kobe Bryant, Pau Gasol, and Andrew Bynum. So let's talk about the first round, where they versed 76. In game one, they lost game one, even though Dwight Howard had 31 points and 16 rebounds. The game was close, and Iguodala hit a clutch shot in the end to win the game 100-98. The Magic, they blew an 18-point lead. Their offense was inconsistent in this game, I remember. In terms of game two, Dwight Howard, he was given the defensive player award before the game, but in this game even though he was fouled out he only got fouled out with 11 points and 10 rebounds. The remaining to Anthony Johnson and Courtney Lee, they did their job. Courtney Lee had 24 points. Anthony Johnson made a clutch layup. Rashad Lewis made a putback shot to win the game. So the role player stepped up when Dwight Howard got injured. So they won game two. The series was 1-1. And for game three, the Magic started out the game slow. Iguodala was playing well, and the Magic started to get things going in the fourth. They came back. The score was 92-94, and then Dwight Howard, he got fouled. He made both free throws tying it, but then Thad Young hit a layup to win the game. So they lost this game, the Magic 94-92. But even though Dwight Howard, in this game he played well. He had 36 points, 11 rebounds, and 3 blocks. So you see, even though he played well, they still lost the game because the games were close. And the 76ers, this is before they started tanking for Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. They were a solid team. The early 2010s, late 2006ers. So now Dwight Howard, this Magic team was down 1-2, and they were on the verge of losing. And for game four, let's talk about game four. So Hedo Turkoglu in game four, he struggled through the series, but he came up big this game. He hit the clutch three on Thad Young to win the game. Dwight Howard played solid. He had 18 points, 18 rebounds. So this is what I'm talking about. Hedo Turkoglu, he's a clutch role player, clutch starter from Turkey. So now the series is tied 2-2. Game 5, Dwight Howard had 24 points, 24 rebounds, 2 blocks, 1 steal. Rashad Lewis also had 24 points, and they did what they're supposed to. They won this game. It's 91-78. And then they have 3-2 series lead. And for game 6, there was no Dwight Howard. He had that 1 game suspension. I believe he got into altercation the game before. I might be wrong. But even with no Dwight Howard, the Magic played a team game. Rashad Lewis led the way with 29 points, and Ralph Alston had 21 points. So they closed out the Sixers, even though I didn't believe this was a real test because Elwin Brand was injured. but they did what. Let's move on anyway. So this was a good 7-game series where, in terms of game one, even though they won the first game 95-90, the Magic won. It took Dwight Howard a while to get going. The Magic had a 28-point lead, but the Celtics came back in the fourth quarter to make it close, but it was too late. Rondo and Ray Allen, they struggled this game. Dwight Howard he played solid. He had 16 points, 22 rebounds, and 3 blocks. In terms of game two, Ralph Austin and Eddie House, they got to confrontation where he hit him on the head. I remember this is funny watching this as a kid. Eddie House had 31 points. So this is where this is foreshadowing the future of the NBA where Eddie House just hit 4 threes. Perkins also has 16 points. So when Kendrick Perkins has 16 points and you're on the opposing team, you're probably not gonna win. And they got blown out this game, 94-112. Dwight Howard he didn't play well. For standards, he had 12 points and 12 rebounds. So the series is tied 1-1. And for game 3, Ralph Austin got suspended. Dwight Howard, he played good defense. But Rashad Lewis and Hedo Turkoglu, the guards, the forwards led the team with 28 and 24 points respectively. Dwight Howard, he had 17 points, so he played solid. He had 4 rebounds and 5 blocks. So then the series was tied. They were winning 2-1. They lost game 4, 94-93. Rashad Lewis also again. They lost. We're on game 5. Yeah. No, we're on game 4. Sorry. They lost game 4. I think Courtney hit 2 mid-range shots to keep them in the game. In the end, this was a close game. It was 91, excuse me. And then Big Baby Glenn Davis hit the game, a role player from the Celtics, the power forward, Big Baby. He hit 2 clutch shots, 2 clutch mid-range shots, and also he hit the game winner to win the game. So now the series was tied 2-2, even Dwight Howard, even for this game 4, had a solid game. Game 5, Stephon Marbury, I forgot the Celtics had him, but he was a good player in the 2000s. Stephon Marbury had 12 fourth quarter points. So Celtics, they had a comeback, and Dwight Howard, he missed a clutch free throw in the end. The Celtics, they ended the fourth quarter on a 17-3 run, and Magic lost this too. So Magic were down 3-2. In the series, they were on the verge of getting eliminated. And for game 6, I think Ralph Austin, he kissed the ref. This was weird. And then Hedo Turkoglu also hit a big big 3-point shot with 1:23 remaining in the fourth quarter to ice the game, to give them like an 81-75 lead. So Turkoglu iced the game, and Rashad Lewis had 20 points. Dwight Howard had 23 points and 22 rebounds. He played well, I believe, for this game. Game 7, the Magic, they started the game on a 22-9 run. But the Celtics made it close later on in the game. Hedo Turkoglu was the story of this game. He had 10 of his 25 points came in the fourth quarter. The team, I believe, they shot 61% from the 3, the Magic. So this is where the 3-point shooting made them win this game. And Hedo Turkoglu also had 25 points and 12 assists. Dwight Howard also played solid at 16 rebounds and 5 blocks. So this is what I'm talking about, Hedo Turkoglu, and you're going to see a theme where Hedo Turkoglu and Rashad Lewis just come up big when Dwight Howard doesn't do a whole lot of scoring. So let's move on to the Eastern Conference Finals. The real test, this was the big upset where they're versing LeBron. I believe they won 66 games. So this was like the number 1 seed versus the number 3 seed. For game 1, they won. The Magic won 107-106. Dwight Howard, he dunked the ball. He moved the shot clock aboard this game where the shot clock fell off. So there was like an 8-minute delay. And then LeBron scored 16 out of the last 19 points to end the half. Mo Williams, hit a half-court shot to send the game to halftime. But this game I believe it went to overtime. And then the Cavs, they blew a 16-point lead in the second half. And then the Magic climbed back. Rashad Lewis hit a clutch 3 to win the game. The fourth quarter was like a heavyweight fight. It was back and forth. This was like the first loss for the Cavs. So the Cavs were like 8-0 to start the playoffs. They sweep the first 2 rounds. Even though LeBron had 49, Dwight Howard had 30 points, 13 rebounds, and he fouled out. So Dwight Howard also matched LeBron, so he played well too. Game 2, this is where they lost, and this is where Dwight Howard had I believe his bad game scoring wise. He had 10 points, 18 rebounds, 2 blocks. So LeBron hit the game winner. This is the game where LeBron hit the game winner buzzer beater over Hedo Turkoglu. Even though Rashad Lewis shot 4 for 7 from 3. The Magic were down 23 points in this game, if you don't believe it, and they came back in the game. This is Mikael, Pietrus, and Courtney making their layups and threes. Hedo Turkoglu hit a huge 3 to tie the game 93, and then this is where LeBron also got called for a travel, and then Hedo Turkoglu again hit a mid-range jumper to give the Magic the lead 95-93, and then this is where LeBron hit the clutch shot over Hedo to win the game. The series is tied 1-1. And then for game 3, Courtney, I believe he dunks on LeBron. LeBron tries to do his classic chase down block. Courtney finished it off. Dwight Howard this game was in foul trouble, but he still had 24 points and 9 rebounds. The role player stepped up this game. Ralph Austin had 18 points. Pietrus had 16 points. Rashad Lewis had 15. And Hedo had 13 points and 10 rebounds. So the role players, when Dwight Howard couldn't score a lot, the role players didn't score a lot. The role players stepped up, and they won this game 99-89. So they had a 2-1 lead. For game 4, this game went to overtime. Rashad Lewis, he hit a corner 3 to take the lead, 100-98. LeBron, he got fouled. He made his free throws to make it 100-100 to send it to overtime. Even though LeBron had 44 points, the Orlando Magic held on to win. Dwight Howard, he played well this game because he had 27 points, 14 rebounds, 3 blocks. Rav Austin had 26 points. He said in the post-game interview after Game 4, his mindset is to make people respect us, which was good by Dwight Howard. Game 5, they lost. They had 3-1 lead. In Game 5, they lost 112-102, where Cavs responded. They started the game with a 32-10 lead. Dwight Howard had a solid game with 24 points and 10 rebounds. But he got fouled out, and LeBron he played well. He had 37, 14, and 12. This was a must-win, so that's why he responded. In Game 6, going back to Orlando, this is Dwight Howard's best playoff game, I believe. He had Magic. They made the finals first time since the 1990s when Shaq was on the team. The Magic had a big lead in the first half, but the Cavs slowly came back with Mo Williams and LeBron. They were scoring a lot to make it 11-point lead. They were down by like 20, but then they reduced it. But Magic didn't want to run in the fourth. Pietrus hit his corner threes, and Dwight Howard, he had, I believe, 40 points and 14 rebounds to ice the series and go head to the finals. So I believe the Game 6 of the 2009 Eastern Conference Finals, I believe this is Dwight Howard's best game. So now this is the real test. No, this is where they got really exposed. Dwight Howard, he got neutralized offensively because they had Gasol and Bynum in the paint to neutralize him, so they built a wall around him. They would double team Dwight Howard when he entered the paint. So this is where the role players didn't step up as they did in the other series because Kobe Bryant was the perimeter defender. Yeah, Trevor Ariza and Kobe guarding the perimeter. So in terms of Game 1, Jameer Nelson, he came back from his injury, but he's coming off the bench, and Ralph Austin was starting. Kobe had 40 points, 8 on 50% shooting, so he was hitting contested fadeaways on Pietrus and Courtney. They couldn't stop him. He was coming off of Andrew Bynum's screens. This is where the Magic's philosophy, where they say you live by the sword, die by the sword. They were living by the 3 and they died by the 3. So Magic, they missed a lot of open shots. They shot bad this game, Game 1, from the 3-point line. Dwight Howard didn't play well, but he got double teamed. I mentioned this. Even though he had 15 rebounds, but he only had 12 points in Game 1, and they lost, I believe, it was 100-75. In terms of Game 2, they lost again, even though Rashad Lewis had 20 points at halftime. By halftime, they were making their threes. Even Hedo Turkoglu hit crucial shots in the fourth. It was a close game. He even blocked Kobe to keep the score tied at 88. But this is where they messed up. Courtney missed the open tip-in to win the game, so the game went to overtime. If Courtney makes this tip-in, the series is 1-1. The Lakers won overtime due to Kobe and Gasol's pick and roll. Even though Rashad Lewis hit a three to keep the game close, it was too late. Dwight Howard, he played solid here, 17 points, 17 points, 16 rebounds. I think he needed to score more. Even though Rashad Lewis had 34 points and 11 rebounds, and Hedo had 22 this game. Let's talk about Game 3. So the Magic are down 0-2. Game 3, they win this game by 4. Ralph Austin, he had 11 points in the first quarter. Kobe had a slow game, but he started catching his game. He got on fire in the second quarter to keep the game close. He shot 17 points on 7 for 10 shooting. The Magic shot 75% in the first half. I think that was a finals record during the time. Pietrus had shots in the end of in the fourth quarter from the three, from the corner three. One of them was on Kobe, one of the shots he hit. Dwight Howard, he played well. He had 21 points, 14 rebounds, 2 blocks. It was a good game. Hedo had 18. Rashad Lewis had 21. Ralph Austin had 18 and Pietrus had 18. So the role players played well. They had a high shooting percentage, so that's why they won this game. They were down 1-2. In terms of game 4, the Magic had an 8-point lead heading into third quarter. Lakers, they got an 18-3 run led by Trevor Ariza. Trevor Ariza had 13 points in the third quarter. And then it was 87-82 with 134 remaining in the fourth quarter. The Magic blew a 5-point lead in the fourth quarter. So this is another game where they should have won. They should have won, I believe, game 2 and this game, game 4. They eventually lost this game 99-91. They lost it because Derek Fisher hit a clutch shot to tie the game, send it to overtime, and then Kobe hit his jumpers. He kicked it out to Derek Fisher in overtime to hit another clutch 3. And I think Gasol dunked it to seal the game. Rashad Lewis had a bad game. This was probably like his first bad game of the playoffs, or his first game where he didn't hit his shots. Dwight Howard had a solid game. I think he had 9 blocks this game, but his offensively is neutralized with 16 points. He had 21 rebounds and 9 blocks. So he played one side of the floor. He played well. And now this is where they were down 3-1. And they were supposed to win, as I mentioned before, they were supposed to win game 2 and game 4. So game 5, Dwight Howard, he played bad. So this is where they lost. He had 11 points and only 11 points and 10 rebounds. And he was in foul trouble. So he was getting limited minutes. The Lakers ended the first half in a 16-0 run. Kobe hit his shots, and Lamar Odom played well off the bench with 17 points and 10 rebounds. Stan Van Gundy, he should have, to win the series, he should have played a more faster pace, have more transition offense instead of like a half-court set. Because that's what they did in Game 3, the only game they won. They kept pushing the pace. Because the Lakers have Bynum and Gasol, which are like slow. So Dwight Howard, let's do a conclusion for the run. So Dwight Howard he came back down 2-1. He was losing 2-1 in the first round. He was down 3-2 and then came back against the Celtics. He beat 260 win teams. He beat 3 Hall of Famers to reach the finals in Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, and LeBron. Iguodala and Rondo may be a Hall of Fame, maybe, because Iguodala has the Finals MVP in 2015. But let's talk about the future now. And then in the future, the next season, they started out the playoffs with 8-0. They had they signed Vince Carter. They let Hedo Turkoglu go, which is a mistake. They let their key role player go. They got Vince Carter, who wasn't bad. Like, he averaged 16 points during the season. But he wasn't the 2000s, early 2000s, mid 2000s Vince Carter. So they had Vince Carter all past his prime. They beat the Bobcats in the first round. They beat the Hawks in the second round. So they had an 8-0 sweep. They swept both rounds. They started out the playoffs 8-0. People thought I thought they were gonna win, but then they versed the Celtics. They lost in the Eastern Conference Finals to the Celtics, who actually had Kevin Garnett. They even added Rasheed Wallace and Kendrick Perkins in the paint. So Dwight Howard, they were building a wall. They did something similar to what the 2009 the Lakers did in the finals. And then they lost, I believe in 4-2. They lost in 6 games. In terms of the 2010-2011 season, they traded for Gilbert Arenas. Was a bad mistake. In December 2010, who had a bad contract, 6 years, $111 million. I believe they let go of Rashad Lewis in this trade, so they ruined they they let go of Hedo Turkoglu and Rashad. They let go of the role players that were pivotal in the finals run for washed up stars. I'm not gonna say washed up, but the stars past their prime, big names that were past their prime. They traded Vince Carter, the player that they retrieved last year, Vince Carter. They traded Mikael Pietrus, Gorton Vince Carter for Jason Richardson, who was old. Earl Clark, he was a bench player. They got Hedo Turkoglu back, and Dwight Howard won his DPOI again. I think he won it in the 010 season too. And then in terms of the 012, 011, 012 season, they had a 37 and 29. This is the lockout year, so if you convert that to 82 games, they really had a 46. They really won 46 games. The lockout year, they had 66 games, so that's why the record's 37 and 29. So the playoffs, they lost in the first round to the Pacers, to Danny Granger, Roy Hibbert, Paul George. To Howard, he missed the playoffs, he got injured, and this is where he requested a trade. Because they weren't winning. Even though this season, Ryan Anderson, their stretch four, they got a new stretch four, Ryan Anderson, who shot threes. He won most improved player. He averaged, I think, 16 points. They still lost because Dwight Howard wasn't there in the playoffs. And this was the end of the Orlando Magic, Dwight Howard's Orlando Magic tenure. But conclusion-wise, the team fell off because they let go of the role players to get stars past their prime. They got big game players. Yeah, they were. I mentioned that one of them. Yeah, one of them was on a bad contract. Like Gilbert Arenas was overpaid and he was like averaging 8 points a game. So this is where the team like fell off. These are my sources. Thank you for watching this lecture.